She had never imagined that a single mistake or a moment of trust could change the course of her life forever. She was young, full of energy, and working her way up in the bustling city, trying to build a life that would one day bring her pride and stability. She had always believed in honesty, hard work, and loyalty. These were the principles she lived by, the same principles that had earned her respect at her workplace. But nothing had prepared her for what was about to come. He was everything she had been told she should admire: rich, charming, and influential, with a way of making everyone around him feel special. He had a confident smile that could make anyone forget their troubles for a while, and he knew it. He had a presence that commanded attention, and he used it skillfully. When he first noticed her, she had been cautious, wary of people who carried power like a weapon. But over time, his charm wore down her walls. She found herself laughing at his jokes, enjoying his company, and eventually trusting him in ways she hadn't trusted anyone before. Their connection started quietly, with shared lunches and brief conversations in the office corridor. It wasn't long before those moments became longer, personal, and intimate. She thought she knew him, thought she understood the man behind the expensive suit and confident demeanor. There was warmth, there were smiles, and there were promises whispered softly in moments when no one else could hear. She believed, at least for a while, that what they had was real. But life has a way of testing even the strongest hearts. She discovered she was pregnant, and in that instant, the world shifted under her feet. The excitement, the fear, and the joy all collided, leaving her overwhelmed. She had dreams for herself and for the child growing inside her. She wanted to raise a family with love, to give her child stability, to create a life full of laughter and safety. She approached him with hope, expecting support, understanding, and perhaps even commitment. Instead, she met fear and selfishness. His charm disappeared, replaced by cold calculation. He was worried about his reputation, his social standing, and the careful image he had spent years constructing. Her heart sank as she realized that the man she had trusted, the man she had allowed to be close to her, would not stand by her in this crucial moment. She had expected at least empathy, a conversation, a plan. What she received was something far worse. Without warning, he began to distance himself. Meetings became fewer, calls unanswered, and messages ignored. His polite smiles turned into cold nods in the hallway. Then came the final blow. He fired her from her job, leaving her without income and without support, while he continued his life as if nothing had happened. She was left alone, with a child on the way, facing a world that suddenly felt much harsher than before. The months that followed were filled with challenges she had never imagined. Every day was a struggle, but she refused to give up. She found odd jobs to make ends meet, worked long hours, and still managed to attend prenatal checkups and prepare a small space for the child. Friends and a few family members helped where they could, but the weight of the situation rested heavily on her shoulders. Nights were the hardest. She would lie awake thinking about the child, about the man who had abandoned her, and about the uncertain future that awaited them both. Despite the hardships, she discovered a strength within herself that she hadn't known existed. She learned to navigate the city's crowded streets, to balance multiple jobs, and to manage expenses with meticulous care. Every small victory became a reason to hope. Every kind word from a stranger, a reminder that the world was not entirely cruel. She refused to let bitterness consume her. Though anger occasionally flared when she remembered the injustice she had suffered, her body changed as she carried the child. Each kick a reminder of the life growing within her. A reminder that she had someone to fight for. She imagined the child's first smile, first steps, and first words. She whispered promises to the baby late at night, promising love, safety, and a life built on honesty and care. In those quiet moments, she felt a fierce determination that nothing could shake. She would raise this child with pride, no matter the obstacles. Meanwhile, the rich man moved on, as if their past connection had never existed. Parties, meetings, and deals consumed his life. He smiled and charmed those around him, never once considering the consequences of his actions beyond the surface. Life for him continued smoothly, with wealth and power cushioning every decision. He was oblivious to the struggle of the woman he had discarded, confident that the past could not touch him. She, however, refused to be invisible. She sought opportunities wherever she could find them, working tirelessly to create a future where she and her child would no longer be dependent on anyone's goodwill. She learned new skills, made connections, and gradually built a life that offered stability and hope. There were moments of despair, of course, but she always reminded herself of the child she carried. Giving up was never an option. The day she gave birth was both terrifying and miraculous. She held her baby for the first time and felt an overwhelming rush of love and protection. The tiny hands, the soft cooing, the delicate features, all of it filled her with a sense of purpose she had never known. In that moment, all the fear and pain she had endured seemed worth it. She whispered promises to her child, vowing to provide everything she could and to shield them from the cruelty of the world as best as she could. The years followed were filled with small victories and daily struggles. She managed to secure stable work, to provide a safe home, and to give her child the love and guidance they needed. Friends who truly cared became her support system, and she discovered that life could still offer moments of joy, laughter, and connection. She watched her child grow into a bright, curious, and strong individual, proud of every achievement, small or large, and yet the shadow of the past lingered, though she rarely let it cloud her present. The memory of betrayal of the man who had abandoned them was a quiet ache in her heart. It reminded her of what she had overcome and of the resilience she had cultivated. She knew that one day, life might bring them full circle, but for now, she focused on building a future defined not by pain but by perseverance, love, and dignity. Through every hardship, she discovered the power of resilience, the strength of a heart determined to survive, and the quiet joy of watching her child thrive. She became more than the sum of her struggles. She became a symbol of hope and determination. Each day was a battle, but also a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure, to adapt, and to rise above the cruelties life sometimes delivers. The city outside continued its relentless pace, different to her personal story. But inside her small home, filled with warmth and laughter, she found a world worth living in. And though the man who had caused her so much pain lived his life unaware of the legacy he had left behind, she had created something far greater, a life of love, integrity, and unbreakable strength. Ready to face whatever the future might bring, life for her, after the birth of her child, was a mixture of joy and endless responsibility. The baby became the center of her world, giving her a reason to push forward even on the hardest days. She worked tirelessly, sometimes taking 2 or even 3 jobs, just to make sure there was food on the table, rent paid, and enough left over for little treats that brought a smile to her child's face. Despite exhaustion, she never complained, for she knew that every small effort was laying the foundation for a better future. The city was tough, but she learned to navigate it with skill and patience. She found jobs that allowed her to gain more experience, slowly moving up in positions that once felt out of reach. People began to notice her dedication, her reliability, and the way she treated others with kindness and respect. Slowly, she built a network of friends and colleagues who supported her. Not knowing the full story of her past, but valuing her for who she was in the present, her child grew quickly, and she made sure to be present in every important moment. First steps, first words, first days at school were milestones she cherished deeply. She read to her child every night, instilling values of honesty, courage, and kindness. She wanted her child to know that life could be unfair, but resilience, hard work, and love could overcome many obstacles. Her own struggles became lessons to guide her child, not chains to hold them back. There were difficult days, of course. Times when the bills piled up, when sickness struck, or when she felt the crushing weight of loneliness. But she never let despair take hold for long. Each time, she reminded herself of the child depending on her, the life she was determined to protect and improve. She learned to find moments of happiness in small things, a shared meal, a hug, a laugh, or simply watching her child play in the park as the years passed. Her child showed signs of intelligence, curiosity, and empathy. Teachers would often remark on how bright and attentive the child was, how eager to learn and help others. She encouraged these qualities, nurturing talents that would one day allow her child to achieve remarkable things. Every accomplishment, no matter how small, was celebrated. During this time, she also focused on her own growth. She went back to school part-time, attending evening classes whenever possible. She wanted to improve her skills and knowledge to make herself more independent and capable. The road was not easy, with many sleepless nights and moments of doubt, but she remained steadfast. She believed that education and determination were keys to creating opportunities for both herself and her child. The rich man, unaware of the life he had left behind, continued on his path of wealth and social influence. Parties, business deals, and public appearances filled his days. He rarely thought of her, dismissing the past as inconsequential. But she did not waste her energy on resentment. Instead, she focused on creating a life of substance and meaning. She knew that success built on integrity and effort was far more valuable than any wealth acquired without heart. She also instilled in her child the importance of kindness and understanding. She wanted the child to grow into a person who valued others, who treated people with respect regardless of their background or status. They volunteered at local shelters, helped neighbors, and participated in community activities. Through these experiences, the child learned empathy and the power of contributing positively to the world, lessons that could not be taught through money or influence alone. As her child entered adolescence, they became increasingly aware of the struggles their mother had faced. Questions were asked, stories shared, and the truth of the past gradually unfolded. The child listened with a mixture of disbelief, sorrow, and admiration for the strength and courage displayed over the years. These conversations deepened their bond and fueled a quiet determination within the child to honor the sacrifices made and to make a difference in the world. By the time her child was a young adult, they had developed remarkable talents. Academically gifted, socially intelligent, and driven, the child began to make a name for themselves in their chosen field. Whether it was business, law, or another sphere of influence, they demonstrated skill, integrity, and leadership. Their success was not fueled by wealth or privilege, but by dedication, education, and the values instilled by their mother. Despite their achievements, they remained humble, always remembering the lessons of their upbringing. They knew the importance of empathy, hard work, and fairness. They also carried a quiet awareness of the injustice their mother had faced, but it was tempered by patience and strategy rather than impulsive anger. They understood that life had a way of balancing itself in unexpected ways, and they were preparing to be ready when that moment arrived. Her mother watched with pride, seeing the child she had raised with love, determination, and guidance grow into a capable, confident adult. The struggles of the past seemed distant, though never forgotten. As she witnessed the fruit of years of hard work, resilience, and unwavering commitment. Together, they had built a life defined not by past wrongs, but by the strength to overcome them. The city continued its relentless pace, but they moved through it with purpose and dignity. Friends, colleagues, and neighbors came to respect the woman and her child, recognizing the quiet power of their achievements. They had created a small world of stability, love, and respect, one that could withstand challenges and continue to grow. And while the rich man remained unaware of the legacy he had abandoned, their lives continued to thrive. Grounded in principles far stronger than wealth or influence. Through all these years, the woman's resolve remained firm. She had faced betrayal, hardship, and loneliness, yet she emerged stronger, wiser, and full of love. Her child had become a testament to her perseverance, a living reminder that life's difficulties could be transformed into opportunities. Together, they had created a story of resilience, courage, and hope, laying the groundwork for events yet to come that would test the strength of their bond and the power of truths. Her child grew into a young adult. They carried within them not only the strength and wisdom their mother had nurtured, but also a quiet awareness of the past. They understood the hardships their mother had faced, and the resilience it had required to rise above them. Yet they did not dwell on anger or resentment. Instead, they focused on building a life of their own, one defined by integrity, hard work, and a desire to make a meaningful difference in the world. Education had always been a cornerstone of their life. They poured themselves into their studies, excelling in every subject, always hungry for knowledge. Their mother had instilled in them the value of learning, not just for personal gain, but as a tool to navigate the world wisely and fairly. The hours of study, the late nights, and the sacrifices were all stepping stones toward a future that would eventually allow them to influence their own destiny. Alongside academic pursuits, they honed skills that extended beyond the classroom. They learned to communicate with confidence, to lead with empathy, and to approach problems with patience and strategy. They volunteered in their community, understanding the importance of giving back and making a positive impact. Every choice was deliberate, every action a reflection of the principles their mother had instilled over the years, despite their achievements. They never lost sight of their humble beginnings. They remembered the struggles, the sleepless nights, the scarcity, and the moments of fear their mother had endured. These memories became a source of motivation rather than bitterness. They wanted to honor the sacrifices made and prove that perseverance and integrity could overcome even the deepest wounds inflicted by instillment. Unfair circumstances, opportunities began to present themselves. They were invited to internships, mentorships, and projects that allowed them to showcase their abilities. Each opportunity was seized with care and focus. They quickly earned a reputation for competence, reliability, and thoughtful leadership. People noticed not just their intelligence, but the calm determination and humility with which they approached challenges. Their mother watched these developments with pride, knowing that the child she had raised with love and dedication was now stepping into a world where they could shape their own future as their career progressed. They found themselves entering circles where influence and power intersected. The skills they had cultivated strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and ethical decision-making set them apart. They built connections not through charm or wealth, but through respect and credibility. Colleagues admired their vision, while mentors valued their commitment and clarity of purpose. Slowly, the stage was set for the next chapter in their journey. Through all this, the rich man remained a distant figure, entirely unaware of the life he had left behind. His success continued in the same patterns as before: deals, public appearances, and the pursuit of prestige. He had little reason to think beyond his immediate world, confident that his actions had no consequences beyond what he could control. Yet, unbeknownst to him, the child he had left behind was steadily preparing to enter the very sphere he occupied, with knowledge, skill, and integrity that would demand acknowledgement. The young adult also nurtured a personal sense of justice. They understood the need for patience and preparation. Rather than acting impulsively, they sought to build influence quietly, ensuring that when the moment arrived to confront the past, they would do so from a position of strength and dignity. This careful planning was a reflection of the lessons learned from their mother, who had shown that resilience and strategy often spoke louder than anger or revenge. Their mother continued to guide and support them, not by solving problems, but by providing wisdom and perspective. She reminded them that true power came from self-respect, from kindness, and from the courage to act wisely when the time was right. Through their conversations, she reinforced the values of empathy, patience, and moral courage. These teachings became a guiding force, shaping the choices the young adult made in both personal and professional life. As the young adult moved closer to positions of influence, they also cultivated an understanding of human nature. They observed the rich and powerful, noting both the strengths and the flaws in their behavior. They learned that people's actions often reveal more than their words, and that patience, observation, and careful timing could be more effective than confrontation. This knowledge would prove essential in the moments to come, ensuring that any encounter with the rich man would be both meaningful and impactful. During this period, the young adult also became increasingly aware of the disparities in society. They saw firsthand the struggles of people less fortunate, recognizing how systemic unfairness could shape lives. These experiences reinforced their commitment to fairness and integrity. They wanted to succeed not merely for themselves, but to be a force for good, to use their talents to create opportunities and justice where it was needed most. The relationship between mother and child grew even stronger during these years. They shared hopes, dreams, and fears, providing each other with a sense of stability and trust. The mother's sacrifices were now reflected in the child's achievements, and the child's accomplishments became a source of joy and reassurance for the mother. Together, they created a world that balanced ambition. Eventually, the young adult reached a point where their presence in influential circles became unavoidable. Their reputation for skill, fairness, and vision preceded them, opening doors that had once seemed unattainable. Colleagues sought their advice, business leaders invited collaboration, and mentors entrusted them with responsibilities that demonstrated confidence in their abilities. The groundwork laid through years of preparation, learning, and careful action had now begun to bear fruit. Throughout all these experiences, they never lost sight of the past or the injustice their mother had endured. The memory of the rich man's betrayal remained a quiet presence, a reminder of the consequences of selfishness and indifference. Yet it was tempered by understanding. They recognized that life had its own way of restoring balance, and they were ready to engage when the moment arrived. Not through anger or revenge, but with dignity, clarity, and purpose. The young adult's journey was also marked by personal growth and self-awareness. They developed confidence in their abilities, clarity in their values, and patience in their approach. They understood that true power and influence were earned through effort, integrity, and the capacity to act wisely when circumstances demanded it. This understanding gave them a sense of readiness for whatever challenges might come, including the eventual meeting with the man who had caused so much pain in their mother's life by now. The stage was set for the coming encounter. The young adult had established themselves as a capable, respected, and confident individual, prepared to face the complexities of life and power with poise. Their mother watched with a mixture of pride, hope, and cautious anticipation. Knowing that her child's journey had been shaped by love, perseverance, and the unwavering pursuit of justice, together, they had created a life that reflected resilience, determination, and the quiet but powerful force of a bond built through shared struggle and triumph. And so, the young adult moved forward, prepared for the moment when destiny would bring them face to face with the man who had once chosen self-interest over responsibility. They carried with them the lessons of the past, the values instilled by their mother, and the skills and wisdom cultivated through years of patient preparation. The world was now ready to witness the convergence of justice, integrity, and the strength of a life lived with purpose. As the next chapter of this story quietly, yet inevitably, began to unfold, the day arrived quietly, almost unremarkable in the rush of the city. Yet it carried the weight of years and the promise of long-awaited resolution. The young adult entered the towering office building, moving with the ease of someone who belonged in professional circles, someone whose presence commanded respect without demanding it. They had prepared for this moment meticulously, understanding the importance of calm, composure, and strategy. The office itself was grand, filled with polished surfaces, sleek furniture, and the subtle hum of business activity. Employees passed by, engrossed in their own tasks, unaware that history was about to meet the present in a way that would leave a lasting mark. The young adult walked with purpose, their posture steady, their gaze clear and unwavering. They carried neither anger nor vengeance, only the quiet confidence of one who had worked tirelessly to be ready for this encounter. The rich man sat at the head of a long, glossy table, surrounded by assistants and colleagues. His life had continued on a path of luxury and influence, yet there was a sense of detachment in his demeanor, a subtle weariness that only time and unexamined choices could bring. He was unaware of the approaching figure whose presence would soon make him confront a past he had long ignored. As the young adult entered, her calm and assured presence drew attention. Conversations paused subtly, eyes followed, and an unspoken curiosity spread among the staff. The rich man looked up, his expression momentarily courteous, assuming it was another business associate or a client seeking a meeting. He smiled politely, nodding in greeting. Unaware of the connection that lay just beneath the surface, the young adult approached the table, offering a handshake that was firm and composed. The rich man noticed the confidence, the professionalism, and the quiet authority in the young adult's demeanor. There was something familiar, though he could not yet place it. They began to speak, exchanging pleasantries and discussing business matters in a professional tone. The rich man was impressed by their knowledge and insight, unaware that every word, every gesture, was part of a carefully measured approach as the conversation progressed. The young adult began to reveal pieces of themselves with subtle precision. A mention of projects, achievements, or mutual acquaintances sparked a flicker of recognition in the rich man's mind. He found himself intrigued and slightly unsettled, sensing a depth in this person that he had not encountered before. There was intelligence, poise, and an ease that demanded attention, and he could not ignore it. Then came the moment of revelation, delivered not with anger or accusation, but with calm clarity. The young adult revealed their identity, connecting the dots between the past and the present. The rich man's polite expression faltered, replaced by shock, disbelief, and a dawning understanding of what had transpired so many years ago. The room seemed to hold its breath as the weight of unspoken truths settled into the air. The young adult spoke of the injustices endured, of the absence of responsibility, and of the life that had been shaped in the shadow of that betrayal. They spoke not to humiliate, but to convey the truth, to allow the rich man to see the consequences of his choices. Every word was measured, every detail recounted with precision, showing the rich man that time, effort, and resilience had forged strength from pain. The rich man struggled to find words. He had lived for decades believing he could move past his actions without consequence. Yet here was the living proof of the life he had affected. He felt a mixture of guilt, shame, and astonishment. The young adult's presence was a mirror reflecting choices long made, consequences long ignored, and a moral reckoning he had never anticipated. Throughout the encounter, the young adult maintained composure. Embodying the strength and integrity cultivated over years of careful preparation, they spoke with empathy, recognizing that the rich man's failure had been both a personal flaw and a reflection of broader human weaknesses. Their calm and clarity made the confrontation not a scene of anger, but a profound moment of accountability and reflection. The employees in the room watched with curiosity and growing respect. They sensed the gravity of the situation, even without knowing the full story. There was a quiet awe in observing the young adult handle the encounter with such poise, turning a personal confrontation into a lesson of dignity, resilience, and ethical power. The atmosphere shifted, moving from normal business chatter to a charged, reflective silence. The rich man attempted to explain, to justify his past actions, but the young adult listened without interruption, allowing him to confront his own conscience. There was no need for dramatics or accusations. The truth itself was undeniable. His own awareness of past cowardice and selfishness became evident, and he felt the weight of years spent evading responsibility. By the end of the meeting, the rich man was left to contemplate the consequences of his choices. The young adult had demonstrated that life, while unpredictable, had a way of restoring balance. The encounter was not about revenge, but about recognition, closure, and the assertion of dignity. The rich man had no choice but to acknowledge the strength, intelligence, and moral clarity of the young adult before him. After the meeting, the young adult exited with quiet dignity. Their mission was complete not to punish, but to reveal truth, to assert presence, and to show that resilience and integrity could not be ignored. The rich man was left to reflect on the years lost to fear, selfishness, and avoidance. He realized that his power, wealth, and influence could not erase the past or the strength of those he had wronged. Outside the office, the city continued its relentless pace, oblivious to the quiet but profound confrontation that had taken place within the walls of the building. Yet for those involved, nothing would ever be the same. The young adult had shown that life could be shaped by persistence, wisdom, and moral courage. They had honored their mother's sacrifices and turned years of struggle into a testament of strength. The mother, who had supported and guided her child through every step of this journey, felt a mixture of relief, pride, and vindication. She knew that the encounter had been handled with intelligence, patience, and dignity, and that the story of their lives was now moving toward a new chapter. She understood that justice does not always require confrontation and anger. But the young adult's life continued, marked by achievements and purpose, but now also by the knowledge that they had confronted a profound injustice and done so with grace. The rich man, confronted with reality, had no choice but to reflect and reckon with the past. And the mother, who had carried the weight of betrayal for so many years, could finally feel that her story and her child's story had been fully acknowledged. Not through wealth or influence, through the enduring power of resilience and integrity after the confrontation in the office. Life began to shift subtly but powerfully for everyone involved. The young adult carried forward with renewed confidence, knowing that their efforts, patience, and resilience had finally created a moment of reckoning. They had shown that injustice could be met not with impulsive anger, but with careful preparation, dignity, and moral strength. The encounter had brought a sense of closure to years of silent struggle, not just for themselves, but also for the mother, who had sacrificed everything to raise them with love and integrity. The rich man, now confronted with the reality of the life he had abandoned, faced a turning point. He could no longer ignore the consequences of his past decisions. The meeting had shaken him deeply, revealing the gap between the life he had chosen and the lives affected by his choices. Wealth, influence, and status could no longer shield him from the moral reckoning that had been brought to his attention. He began to reflect on the years of avoidance, the opportunities for reconciliation missed, and the person he had failed to be. For the mother, life had always been about perseverance and love. Watching her child handle the situation with such wisdom and strength reinforced her belief in the power of resilience. She had endured betrayal, hardship, and loneliness, yet the outcome proved that integrity and hard work could triumph over injustice. Her pride in her child was immeasurable, not simply for their professional success, but for the way they embodied the values she had instilled: patience, courage, and moral clarity. In the months that followed, the young adult continued to advance in their career, now with the added awareness that life's challenges could be confronted and resolved in meaningful ways. Their professional and personal achievements were marked not just by skill and determination, but by the quiet knowledge that they had faced and navigated one of life's most complex moral moments. Colleagues and peers continued to respect them, unaware of the full story, but drawn to the wisdom and steadiness they displayed in every situation. The mother and child also focused on creating a life of stability and joy. They invested time in the community, supporting initiatives that promoted fairness, education, and opportunity for others. Their experiences had taught them the importance of giving back and helping others overcome challenges. They shared their stories selectively, using it as a lesson about resilience and the power of facing adversity with dignity rather than bitterness. The rich man, now more aware of the impact of his actions, experienced a difficult period of self-reflection. He began to reconsider the way he interacted with others, understanding that influence and wealth carried responsibility. He attempted to make amends where possible, though he realized that some things, like lost time and the trust of those he had wronged, could never be fully restored. This period of reflection marked a turning point for him personally, forcing him to confront uncomfortable truths about his character and past choices. Despite the complexity of these emotions, the mother and child maintained their focus on the positive aspects of life. They continued to work hard, support one another, and embrace the opportunities before them. Every achievement, every success, was not only a testament to their resilience, but also a reminder of the strength developed through years of facing adversity. They learned to celebrate victories while remaining grounded and humble, never losing sight of the values that had guided them from the beginning. The young adult's journey, also inspired others in their professional and personal circles. People admired not only their success, but the way they navigated challenges with intelligence, empathy, and poise. Their story became a quiet example of how integrity, patience, and careful preparation could lead to meaningful results, even in situations where life had dealt injustice and hardship. They became a source of encouragement and guidance for peers, colleagues, and younger generations looking to navigate their own paths with fairness and determination. Through all of this, the bond between mother and child remained unbreakable. The experiences they had, shared struggles, triumphs, and the eventual confrontation with the rich man had forged a relationship rooted in trust, love, and mutual respect. They understood one another in ways few could, and this understanding allowed them to face life's ongoing challenges with courage and confidence. Their shared history became a source of strength, a reminder that even in the face of betrayal and hardship, love and determination could prevail. As the years passed, the story of their lives became one of quiet inspiration. They continued to grow, both personally and professionally. Guided by the principles that had carried them through the most difficult times, they celebrated achievements, supported others, and embraced opportunities to make a positive impact on the world. The confrontation with the rich man, once a source of anxiety and tension, became a testament to the power of preparation, patience, and moral courage. The rich man, having faced the consequences of his past, began to live with a greater awareness of responsibility and the importance of ethical behavior. He learned that wealth and influence could not replace the need for integrity, and that the choices made in the past could echo far beyond immediate perception. While he could not undo the years of hardship inflicted on the mother and child, the confrontation served as a catalyst for self-awareness and personal growth. Ultimately, life moved forward with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity for the mother and child. Their story was one of resilience, moral strength, and the ability to rise above adversity. The lessons learned about patience, integrity, courage, the quiet power of steadfastness became guiding principles for all aspects of their lives. They knew that the past had shaped them, but it would not define them, and that the future held the promise of continued growth, success, and meaningful connections. In the end, the journey of the mother and child reflected a universal truth, that life's challenges, while sometimes harsh and unfair, can be met with resilience, love, and wisdom. Through persistence, preparation, and moral courage, it is possible to navigate even the most difficult circumstances and emerge with dignity and strength. Their story, marked by struggle and eventual resolution, became a living example